These are 10 things that you didn't know could literally kill you.
Air hoses. Contrary to belief, air hoses
can
are
kill
dangerous,
you?
although they're often used for filling up car tires, blowing out dust in keyboards, and inflating huge bouncy castles.
Yeah, literally.
They also carry enough
How
pressure
can they
to tear
kill
through
you?
skin, damage internal organs, or even be fatal if mishandled.
Oh
On a calm
no.
morning in May 2011,
Well, maybe if you put it in
a
your
truck driver
mouth or
New Zealand
something,
was
yeah?
going about his daily routine. He climbed onto the rigging between his truck's cab and trailer, a place he'd stood countless times before. But in one unlucky moment, his boot slipped, and instead of falling on steady ground, the man fell backwards straight onto his compressed air hose.
Oh my
The brass
gosh.
nozzle punctured him through his left buttock, and in an instant, high pressurized air about 100 pounds per square inch began flooding into his body.
Oh my
As if it was
goodness.
straight out of a cartoon, the man's body began to inflate in size. Air forced its way beneath his muscles and fat, separating his tissue like it was sheets of paper. His chest tightened, his skin stretched, and his face ballooned into a grotesque puff. Co-workers who happened to cross his path screamed in terror.
That
They
is
quickly rushed to his
crazy.
side, shocked at the mortifying sight. They shut off the air supply and carefully rolled him onto his side, knowing his lungs and heart were under pressure. Ice packs were pressed against his swollen neck and chest to try and ease the suffocating strain. Ambulance crews arrived as fast as they could, but when they found the man, he could barely breathe. His body literally doubled in size. It
Oh
was
my
filled with
gosh.
so much air that every time an EMT tried to put a needle in
He
his
literally
body
got
to start
filled with
an
air
IV,
like a whole
the air would
balloon.
just push it right out. Doctors later compared his skin to feeling like densely packed bubble wrap just waiting to explode. But luckily for this
Oh
man,
my gosh.
he didn't explode. It took days for the air to escape his tissue, but against all odds, he survived by farting it all out of his body. Others,
What
however,
the?
wouldn't be as lucky. Like the
Well,
tiny
at least he
poultry worker in
survived.
Mississippi got carried away with his friend while horseplaying, and for some odd reason, he decided to stick an air hose in his, yeah. The air pressure from the
What
hose was
the-
so immense that he blew up from the inside, rupturing most of his organs in the process. Surprisingly, there are a lot of cases like this, so even though they're fun to play with, air hoses are dangerous. Always keep them in safe places and please don't misuse them. A broken
Yeah,
heart,
please don't do that.
but true love often feels like one of the rarest things to find in life, and once you find it, you never want it to leave you. Such wasn't the case for a man who was forced to read his wife's eulogy at her funeral after he supported her for a 4-year battle against ovarian cancer. The pair were
Oh
inseparable.
wow.
The man became engaged to her when he was just 21 years old, and the two would go on to be married for 34 years. That's nearly twice my age. And now, instead of making more memories with the companion of his life, he was making funeral speeches and writing thank you letters to those who came to the service. The amount
Oh
of
my
exertion
gosh.
something like this can have on one's heart is no joke. Only mere moments after the
That is
eulogy,
sad.
the man was found slumped over in his house, in the middle of writing thank you letters. He had literally passed away from a broken heart. Doctors said his grief was so
Really?
profound that it caused him to have a heart attack. And this wasn't just an isolated
Oh my
incident.
gosh, that
It's
is
a phenomenon
actually
that happens to many
so
others as well.
sad.
It's called broken heart syndrome, or Takotsubo cardiomyopathy. It's a temporary heart condition triggered by intense emotional or mental stress that makes the heart's main pumping chamber weaken, causing it to mimic the symptoms of a literal heart attack. Soda cans.
That is
Imagine that it's
sad.
a hot summer day, and you've done nothing but bask in the sun's overwhelming rays of heat all morning. You're parched, so you go indoors to get yourself a nice cold can of soda. But, to your disappointment, none of the drinks were put away in the fridge. They were left out on the table, so now they're just warm and gross. You come up with
Oh,
an idea.
ew,
You
gross.
take one of the cans of soda and throw it into the freezer in order to speed up the cooling of the beverage. To wait for it to cool down, you go and watch some YouTube and then end up falling asleep. Hours pass, and you forget that you left the soda in there. Eventually, when you wake up and stumble across your fridge again, you remember that
It's
you put
probably
soda in
completely
the freezer.
frozen.
Hoping that the drink hasn't frozen solid, you quickly take it out of the freezer, crack it open, and boom. Just like that. The can explodes like a hand grenade right in front
Oh
of your
my
face.
gosh.
This is a real case that happened to a boy in China on August 25th, 2012. Luckily for this boy, however, medical professionals were able to save him and nurse him back to health. Frozen soda cans
Well,
are
that's
extremely
good.
dangerous, and in some cases, they're even lethal. Freezing them forces the carbon dioxide in the soda to create tightly packed reservoirs inside of the can that store high amounts of energy similar to a bomb. So keep your soda in the fridge, and if you do put it in the freezer, don't forget to take it out so that you don't go boom, boom.
Oh,
Gooning.
that's actually a good tip. Oh my gosh. Gooning.
Sir, you need to leave.
Yeah. Apparently,
my
there's a couple
gosh.
of ways that gooning can take you out. But, so that this video doesn't get demonetized, I'll be swift on the topic. The risk of passing away from this is extremely low, especially if you're a healthy individual. However, if you're struggling with any underlying cardiovascular diseases, it's possible that excessiveness could trigger a heart attack, arrhythmia, or a stroke. On September 18th, in 2019,
I didn't even know that could
heartbroken teen
happen.
suffering from depression would find himself unable to ignore how his last Valentine's Day went. I don't really know how, but he snuck past his parents and locked himself away in a room where he then gooned himself to destruction.
What the?
He gooned 56 times until he had a heart attack.
56
However, I'd take this case with
times?
a huge gulp of salt, because due to the bizarreness of his passing, tons of media outlets have exaggerated how he went out, often claiming that he did it 100 times and ripped his thing off his body, which is obviously just not true. Vending
That
machines.
can't be
He was
true.
infuriated.
That's
The man
crazy.
had just put the only dollar he had on him into the vending machine, and his snack was stuck inside of the machine, floating in limbo. The problem had a simple solution. Just shake the stupid clanker. The man began rocking the vending machine back and forth over and over again until his snack finally fell and was free for him to take. Unfortunately,
Oh,
however,
nice.
it wouldn't be the only thing to fall. The 1,200-pound vending machine would also tip over on him and crush his neck against a wall.
Oh
The man would be pinned against
no.
the wall, struggling to keep the machine from fully flattening his neck. But sadly, his efforts would prove to be fruitless. He wouldn't survive to see
Ouch.
the next day. More people pass away from vending machines than they do shark attacks. There's about 2 to 4 casualties from vending machines each year in the US. So,
That's
if the machine isn't giving up
crazy.
your snack, you can get angry at it, you can swear at it, but don't get into a fight with it. 10 out
Yeah,
of 10
please
times,
don't.
you will lose. Sudden choking. Imagine this. You're hanging out with your friends, chilling at a party, and conversing with other people while losing track of time. And then that's when it hits you. You start choking on literally nothing. It's called a laryngospasm. It's a sudden, violent, and involuntary spasm of your vocal cords that is so forceful that it entirely blocks your body's airways. Mild
Oh,
cases
no.
of laryngospasms last just a few seconds, while more intense cases can last up to a few minutes, which is pretty horrifying when you think about it. One
It
second,
really
you're chilling on
is.
some mobile games. The next second,
It's
you're
so
literally fighting
random.
for your life and suffocating on nothing. If this ever happens to you, don't panic or try to gasp for extra air. Remaining calm helps your muscles relax. Take small sips of water to clear any possible irritants causing the spasm and apply pressure on the soft
That's
spots
some good
behind your
advice.
earlobes. It'll help your vocal cords ease up. And most importantly, seek professional help. Restaurant signs. In January
Restaurant
2023,
signs.
a swarm of fierce winds ripped through Elizabethtown, Kentucky. A family arrived at their favorite local Denny's to start their morning off with some warm pancakes and coffee, an entirely
Oh,
questionable
nice.
option for breakfast. No offense. However, towering above the Denny's parking lot was an 80-foot sign weighing more than a ton. To most,
It does have
the
a pretty
sign
big
was a glowing
sign.
beacon for bacon, eggs, and pancakes. But for this family, it became the last thing they'd ever see. A 72-year-old woman sat in the car with her husband and daughter when a storm outside struck. The pole groaned under the wind's pressure, then, without warning, it suddenly snapped. The massive sign came
Oh, no.
crashing down on the car, crushing the roof and trapping the family inside. Unfortunately, the 72-year-old lady didn't survive its impact, and her husband would also go on to pass away from the injuries the accident gave him. There
Oh
are multiple cases
no.
where restaurant signs, gas station signs, and storefronts fall on people. So, never be discouraged to keep your distance from an unstable-looking board that's giving you an off feeling when you're entering a business. It might just save your life. Sneezing. We
Wow,
all do it.
that is
You're sitting in a job
insane.
interview, or in a library, or in front of your date, and then you feel it coming. The tingling sensation that tickles the small hairs inside of your nose, letting you know that you're about to sneeze. The natural thing to do is to let that sneeze fly. Well, while trying to not make a mess. But oftentimes instead, we just find ourselves stifling the sneeze. Don't.
It's true.
My anatomy teacher in high school always told us to break the habit, and honestly, it makes sense as to why. During a sneeze, if your mouth and nose are both closed, the pressure generated in the airways can surpass more than 20 times its normal amount. And in a
didn't
recent
know
case
that.
during 2023, a man sick with hay fever held in his sneeze by instinctively pinching his nose and closing his mouth. The force that built up in his airways was so immense that it literally tore open his windpipe. It's extremely
my
rare to pass
gosh.
away from this, but nonetheless, holding in a sneeze just isn't worth gambling your life. Christmas trees. There's no better feeling in
Christmas
the world
trees?
than
How
to
do you
finish setting
die
up
by
your
a Christmas tree?
just in time for the holidays. Nothing beats a Christmas with fruitcake, eggnog, and a house fire.
Oh no,
US fire
that's...
departments
Oh
respond to
no.
an average of 200 home fires caused by Christmas trees each year. And as you would presume, these fires lead to casualties. Christmas tree house fires are significantly more dangerous than normal fires in your home. This is because these fires usually occur at night or early morning when people have gone to sleep but left all of their decorations plugged in and lit up.
Oh,
They're
that's
usually
true,
caused by
actually.
candles that were placed too close to the tree, faulty wires, or heat caused by all of the decorative electrical
That's actually really
elements.
true.
And as opposed to
That's
normal
a big
house fires that are
risk.
slow and steady in their startup,
A
Christmas
huge
fires
safety
with a dry
risk.
tree can ignite and spread across a room in less than just 30 seconds. So, with that being said, try not to get too carried away with your holiday spirit this year. Doing nothing. You see that signs
Doing
can fall on you,
nothing?
beverages can explode in your face, and that Christmas trees can set you ablaze in your sleep. So you decide that the best course of action for you to avoid all danger is doing absolutely nothing. And then you explode into
Perfect.
a ferocious blaze, so powerful that it leaves nothing but your feet behind. Weirdly enough, nothing
What in
else
the
around you
world?
is affected. Not the couch you were sitting on, not the table in front of you, not the rug on the floor. Nothing. Just only specifically you. This is known as spontaneous human combustion, and there are many cases in the US about it. However, scientists
Really?
nowadays discredit it fully and dub it as nothing more than a myth. They rather believe it to be the wick effect, which is when a person's clothing absorbs melted body fat during a fire and causes them to burn up but leaves their surroundings relatively unharmed. Others feel like this isn't a sufficient enough explanation to the phenomenon though. They argue that if the fire's hot enough to consume you entirely and leave nothing but ashes behind, then it should also scorch nearby walls, furniture, and flooring.
You would
They also
think,
say for
yeah.
the wick effect to be true, it needs a clear spark, like a lighter or a candle. But in many of the cases, the victims aren't found with anything heat-related. Toilet time.
Oh wow.
In Chicago, in 1987, a 70-year-old woman would board a cruise ship with her family. As they explored the wonders on board and enjoyed the pleasant feeling of being on the ocean, the old lady would be greeted with another, less than pleasant feeling. So she excused herself from her family
Oh,
and made her way
no.
to the ship's bathroom, and there she was greeted with the solution to her bowel troubles: the toilet. She closed the door behind her,
Nice.
sat on the seat, and did her business in peace. Minutes later, the ship's medical personnel would rush past the family to the bathroom where their grandma was last seen. Out of concern, the family would follow, and as if it were a scene straight out of a horror movie, they would be met with the sight of their grandma. Her insides were literally sucked out of her body by the
Oh
ship's
my
vacuum pump.
gosh.
She was rushed to the emergency room once the cruise docked at a port. And even though cases like these are extraordinarily rare, toilets have been shown to cause lethal harm to civilians in other ways. Take, for instance, exploding. In 2017, a federal class action
Exploding?
lawsuit was filed against a toilet
How
company
does it
called American
explode?
Standard after it received 300 reports of its toilets literally blowing up. And even this year, in 2025, a 20-year-old man suffered serious burn injuries after he pressed the flush button on his toilet and it responded with a loud explosive bang. He was rushed to a
Oh my
hospital where doctors
gosh.
revealed that 35% of his body was burned horribly by the explosion. But luckily, he survived. If you couldn't tell, this was a birthday special for the channel. It's my way of thanking you guys for all the support you've given me this year. In just 2 months, we grew from 10,000 subscribers to over 250,000. I'm extremely grateful. But anyways, love your neighbor, be safe, and have a happy day.
Those are some crazy things, guys. Comment down below which one was the craziest one. Because that was actually insane. Like, I didn't even know some of those things could just kill you.